Welcome back, everyone, and let's jump right into it. Here we are on day 8 of our 40 days of preparing the heart. It is genuinely so wonderful to have you here as we step into a really special phase of our journey together, the clear and observe phase. Today's explainer is all about learning how to become way more psychologically perceptive, but doing so while remaining deeply, beautifully, spiritually grounded. Now, as we go through this, the main thing I want you to feel today is a sense of recognition. When we talk about our inner workings, the goal is simply to say to yourself, yeah, I recognize this in myself. There is absolutely zero judgment here, none. We're not judging, we're just observing. So let's explore how we navigate those subtle little waves of our own consciousness. So I want to pose this deep human question directly to you, and just take a second to really reflect on this. How quickly does a preference become a story? We have all been there. I mean, it is a split-second journey, isn't it? Going from just a simple, tiny observation to a heavy, complicated narrative that we suddenly find ourselves dragging around. And that brings us to section 1, the speed of a story. This right here brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. Let's look at this in slow motion for a second. Step 1 is just a simple, momentary reaction. I don't like the way she speaks. It's just a fleeting feeling, right? But then, almost instantly, we jump to step 2. She always does this. Suddenly, we're generalizing. And finally, step 3 literally drops the anchor. She is this kind of person. Do you see what just happened there? One tiny reaction, slowly or honestly sometimes incredibly fast, becomes an interpretation of a whole person. And please remember, having a reaction is completely 100% human. We are not judging the reaction. We just need to notice how quickly we construct an entire identity for someone else or a massive narrative for a situation, all based on one little initial spark. Now, what's really wild is how incredibly ordinary these triggers actually are. We might build out this massive psychological narrative just because a coworker types too loudly, or, because we see a frustrating post while scrolling social media. It happens with our food cravings, our clinging to comfort, our daily routines, and yes, even our spiritual preferences. And here's the kicker. It's not just the things we dislike. The exact same thing happens with things we like. Whether we're fiercely attracted or strongly repelled, both of those reactions pull us right into creating a story. Moving on to section 2, the inner lake. I want you to picture your mind, your consciousness, as this totally pure, pristine lake. It's like a crystal clear pool of water in complete, utter stillness. You can see all the way to the bottom. Now, imagine a sudden like or dislike, a stray thought, or a quick emotion entering that field. It acts exactly like a pebble being thrown right into the water. It creates ripples. It causes turbulence. It completely disturbs that beautiful stillness. So, the absolutely crucial point is this. Unchecked ripples harden into knots of energy. When we don't observe those disturbances in our crystal clear lake, when we just let those everyday reactions run totally wild, they deepen. Any thought or action that constantly repeats itself eventually becomes a habit, creating these rigid patterns. Those unchecked ripples literally harden into fears, heavy impressions, and desires that weigh down our heart and cloud up our pristine inner lake. Let's look at section 3, preferences becoming attachments. Think for a moment about the difference between feeding a reaction and simply noticing it. When a simple preference morphs into an attachment, it starts demanding that we repeat the experience over and over. We feed it by building the next 5 sentences in our head, right? We start justifying our anger or completely obsessing over our craving. And man, it is an exhausting habit. But there is an incredibly liberating alternative: noticing the reaction. This just means pausing before the story forms. Now, we are definitely not saying that likes and dislikes must be forcefully suppressed. Suppression just creates way more tension anyway. We are simply investigating what actually changes when these reactions are noticed before they get fed. Which brings us to section 4, today's observation practice. So for day 8, you're going to meditate normally. But during the day, as you're just going about your normal everyday activities, your practice is to stay alert. I want you to try and catch just one strong attraction or one strong repulsion. When it hits you, I want you to silently state this simple, non-judgmental recognition to yourself. This is a reaction. And then
pause. Do not immediately build the next 5 sentences around it. There is immense, life-changing power in this pause. Just experience the reaction for what it is. Feel the ripple in the lake, sure, but do not let it construct an identity or a heavy narrative. Just let it be a momentary ripple.
All right, Section 5, the evening cleaning. At the end of the day, ideally before sunset, we refresh ourselves. Step 1, just sit in a comfortable position. Step 2, set the clear intention to unload the impressions you've collected during the day, kind of like washing dirt off your body. Step 3, and listen, this is a very important rule. Do not replay the stressful event. Seriously, if you replay an argument in your mind, your heart just absorbs that heavy impression all over again. Instead, just let the heaviness go, visualize it leaving like smoke or vapor, and finally, step 4, create a vacuum in the heart, purifying your consciousness so you're ready to start totally fresh. And hey, here is a great, super practical tip. Spot cleaning. Sometimes you really don't need to wait for the evening routine. Think about it. If you accidentally spill food on your shirt at lunch, you don't leave the stain there until 8 p.m., right? No, you spot clean it immediately. Well, it's the exact same with our consciousness. If a really strong disturbance happens, stop and step back. You can say, I am sorry, internally, just to diffuse the tension. Notice that negative feeling leaving your system like smoke, right then and there. Prevention is always a very wise option.
And our final section, Section 6, the unfed reaction.
As we wrap up this explainer, I invite you to take this deep reflection question with you today. What settled when I stopped feeding the reaction? Go deeply into the difference between simply experiencing a momentary reaction and constructing a whole identity or story around it. Because when we stop fighting our preferences and we stop fiercely clinging to them, we create this profound inner space. The turbulence in our lake finally settles down, and wisdom just naturally arises from that beautiful stillness. I want to leave you with this final, empowering thought to carry with you through day 8. It's the absolute essence of today. Not every reaction deserves a permanent room in the heart. You have the choice to keep your inner lake pristine, to let those little ripples fade away, and to keep your heart completely unburdened. Have a wonderful time with your observation practice today, and I cannot wait to explore further with you in our next explainer.